Most people think they fail because they lack luck, because life is unfair, because it just wasn't meant to be. But failure doesn't begin with a lost opportunity, a bad meeting, or a closed door. Failure is born in the morning. It's born in the first thought you allow when you open your eyes, in the way you rise, in the tone you le pones al día antes de siquiera salir de la cama. Every morning, whether you're aware of it or not, you are laying bricks in el camino de tu destino. And if those first minutes are filled with chaos, distraction, self-doubt, or mental noise, you're not just having a slow start. You're repeating the same internal pattern that has been quietly shaping your results for years. As Brian Tracy teaches, success is never an isolated event. It is the direct consequence of what you choose to do and what you refuse to do at the beginning of each day. You don't need a miracle opportunity. You need to train your mornings, because when you control your first decisions, you control your direction. And when you control your direction, success stops being a fantasy and becomes a daily strategy. Failure rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive with a label that says, "This is what is holding you back." It slips in quietly through small decisions. It hides in the choice to hit the snooze button just 5 more minutes. It appears in the habit of checking notifications before checking your priorities. It lives in that silent thought, "Today will be just like yesterday." In that invisible battle, most people lose before they even sit up in bed. What truly defines whether your day will be productive, focused, and intentional is not what you do at 3 in the afternoon. It is what you do during the first 30 minutes after you wake. If you begin in reaction, confusion, and laziness, you are entering life at a disadvantage. The world does not pause to wait for you to get focused. The world rewards those who are already moving while others are still arguing with the alarm clock. Here is a truth very few people want to accept. Success is not built from occasional big decisions, but from micro decisions repeated every single morning. The way you get up, the way you speak to yourself, the thoughts you allow to stay, the importance you give to your goals before the world demands your attention. Those details shape you or slowly destroy you. It is not about waking up at 5 in the morning because it's trendy or copying someone else's morning routine from the internet. It is about clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you want, and what you are willing to do day after day to become that person. That clarity only appears when you deliberately direct your mind in the morning, not when you let it wander on autopilot. You cannot expect different results if every day starts as an improvisation, full of noise and without any structure, because your day is not shaped by the clock, it is shaped by your intention. Your morning is the training ground of your character. That is where you decide whether today will be just one more day or the first day of a different life. Every time you open your eyes and let yourself be dragged by the impulse to stay in bed, to avoid discomfort, to think about what you lack instead of what you can build, you reinforce an identity that keeps you in the same place you say you hate. But when you decide that your morning is sacred, that your first hour is non-negotiable, that this time belongs to you and not to the world, something shifts. You can feel it, you can see it, and that shift accumulates. One powerful morning doesn't guarantee a perfect day, but it prepares you to face it with more strength, more clarity, and more intention. Sustained over weeks and months, that preparation changes everything. Because life doesn't change when the big opportunity arrives, it changes when you stop wasting the small ones, especially the one you get every single morning. The most dangerous part of a messy morning is not having it once in a while. The real danger is having the same disordered, distracted start every day and calling it normal. What you repeat without awareness becomes your destiny. A morning full of rush, noise, and mental clutter doesn't destroy you in one shot. It erodes you quietly. There is no alarm that goes off when you postpone what matters. There is no visible punishment when you surrender to the automatic pilot. There is just a subtle heaviness, a lack of energy, a constant feeling that you are always chasing something you never quite reach. Over time, that feeling becomes your identity. You start telling yourself, "I'm not consistent. I'm always behind. I'm not like those people who succeed." But what you're truly missing is not motivation. It's structure, it's focus, it's a firm decision to stop giving your mornings away to disorder. Because the one who does not command the beginning of the day ends up dragged by the rest of it. You don't fail because of what you do in your biggest moments. You fail because of what you don't do when nobody is watching. You fail when you don't get up at the time you promised yourself. When you don't write down what you want to accomplish, when you don't visualize the man you want to become, when you feed your complaints instead of training your mind, every morning is a blank page. You either fill it with habits that make you stronger or with habits that quietly drain you. You need to design your mornings as if you were designing your future, because you are. What you do in that first hour sends a direct message to your brain, either I am here to dominate this day or I am here just to survive it, and your brain responds accordingly. When you start with order, intention, and direction, everything else begins to align. Your emotions stabilize, your decisions become firmer, your motivation stops depending on external impulses and starts rising from your identity. When you start by reacting to messages, social media, and scarcity, chaos takes control of your mind before you have made a single conscious choice and the day slips out of your hands. So do this. Get up without negotiating with laziness. Drink water as your first act of respect for your body. Sit in silence, even if it's just for a few minutes, and ask yourself one question. What do I need to do today to be proud of myself tonight? Not what does the world need from me, not what does my job demand, but what do I need to show up as the man I want to be? Then write 3 things. 1 action that moves you closer to your goal, 1 attitude you are committed to sustain, and 1 thought you refuse to entertain today. That is structure. That is direction. And it doesn't take an hour. It takes a few minutes lived with full awareness. Those minutes are worth more than an entire day lived without consciousness, because it's not about doing a lot. It's about doing what matters at the beginning, where everything is seated, where the tone of your day is set. Many people believe they failed because they lack time, because life is unfair, or because their big moment hasn't arrived. The truth is more uncomfortable and much simpler. They fail because they have not learned to be consistent after motivation fades. Anyone can feel inspired on a Monday morning. Very few know how to keep moving on Thursday when the body feels heavy, the mind is full of doubt, and the noise of the world demands immediate attention. That's where the difference is drawn between those who move forward and those who repeat their story. Not in the intensity of their beginnings, but in the solidity of their continuity. If you have tried over and over and still feel stuck, it is not because you're incapable. It is because you have not sustained action with or without excitement, with or without quick results. You start, you feel a rush of motivation, you get distracted, you give up, and then you start again. That cycle is broken every morning, not with brute force, but with precise focus. A disciplined mind understands that the real enemy is not external failure, but internal disconnection, that feeling of living each day as if it were an accident, as if you had no power over how you feel, how you act, how you respond. That belief is false. You can choose which thoughts to feed, which habits to repeat, which excuses to disable. What you cannot do is choose wisely without awareness. And awareness appears when you pause, breathe, and direct your mind before the world fills it with static. What are you feeding your mind with every morning? What sentences run on repeat before you even step out of bed? If you start the day with guilt, with complaints, with comparison, you are digging trenches in your own territory. You call it routine, but it is slow self-destruction. The man who does not take control of his first thought has already lost half the day. That is why, if you truly want to stop failing, you must change the story you tell yourself at the beginning of the day. No profound change happens without mental reprogramming. And reprogramming is not magic, nor is it shallow positive thinking. It is strategic repetition. It is conscious affirmation. It is a daily practice of choosing the kind of man you want to be until that man looks real, not by blind faith, but by trained conviction. Every morning you must speak to yourself as if you already were that version. It doesn't matter if you don't fully feel it yet. It doesn't matter if your environment doesn't reflect it yet. You train from the inside out. If your mind believes, your body follows. If your body acts, your life transforms. You are not lying to yourself, you are directing your mind before it drags you back to the same old pattern. Tell yourself out loud every morning, "Today I act as a disciplined, strong, determined man, even if I don't feel like it yet." As you repeat it, as you sustain it, as you move from that energy, your identity starts to shift. Identity is the core of everything. You do not act according to what you desire. You act according to who you believe you are. If every day you remind yourself that you are weak, distracted, and inconsistent, you will continue to behave like a weak, distracted, inconsistent man. But if every day you clearly affirm who you have decided to become, even before you feel it, what today is just an affirmation, tomorrow becomes your character. Morning is the perfect time to install this new narrative before doubt appears, before noise contaminates your thinking, while there is still enough silence to hear your own truth. There is another silent cause of constant failure. Starting the day with your body in the present, but your mind trapped in the past. You wake up and immediately replay old mistakes, missed decisions, lost opportunities, conversations that hurt you, moments in which you disappointed yourself. You have not forgiven yourself, so although you say you want to move forward, you drag invisible weight into each new day. No one can build a powerful future while waking up every morning with the guilt of yesterday. What you do not close, you repeat. What you do not forgive limits you. What you do not face drags you backward. That is why a crucial part of your morning must be emotional cleaning. Forgiving yourself for what you didn't know, accepting that you acted with the level of awareness you had, recognizing that the fact that you would act differently today means you have grown. This is not weakness. This is maturity. A mature man does not live justifying his past, but he doesn't stay chained to it either. He honors it. He learns from it. He transcends it. By doing that, he recovers his energy, his focus, his freedom. Each morning, if you want to be truly powerful, you must pause, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and tell yourself, "Today, I do not punish myself. Today, I use everything I have been to become better." Simple sentence, enormous impact. Said with intention, it cleans away the mental fog of guilt and returns to you the right to advance without that weight on your chest. You are not your mistakes. You are the man who chose to face them and walk forward with more strength, more clarity, more compassion for yourself. The man who treats himself with respect every morning begins the day from strength, not from scarcity. The greatest misconception of the man who fails over and over again is believing that changing his life requires changing everything at once. He imagines a spectacular turning point where his world is rearranged overnight. Reality works differently. Big transformations start with small commitments sustained over time. Tiny actions that look insignificant in isolation but stacked day after day become unshakable foundations. You don't fail because you lack the ability to change. You fail because you underestimate the power of the small. You don't believe that waking up a few minutes earlier, writing 3 lines in a notebook, choosing a better response when you're angry, or drinking water before coffee could change anything. But it can, and it will, if you repeat it, if you honor it, if you make it part of your new identity. Stop romanticizing change as something dramatic and loud. Real change is quiet. It is repetitive. It is often boring. The magic is hidden in what you do when no one is watching, in what you repeat even when you don't see immediate results, in what you keep doing even when you don't feel like it. To sustain that, you need an internal system that supports you, a voice inside that says, "This small action that looks like nothing is actually everything." Most people don't fall because they don't know what to do. They fall because they have no system. And that system is built from micro actions aligned with your vision. If every morning You wake up and tell yourself that you need to change your whole life. You'll be exhausted before you begin. But if every morning you say, today I will just be better in one specific thing, you recover your power. You don't drown in overwhelm. You focus. Ask yourself every morning, what can I do today that brings me a bit closer to my best self? Not to perfection, not to some abstract idea of success, but to the strongest, clearest version of you. It can be one decision, one conversation, one chosen silence, one excuse you refuse to buy again, whatever it is. Let it be conscious. Let it be yours. Let it be real. When you choose one small victory every day, something inside you grows stronger. Failure stops being a final verdict and becomes a teacher. This is how you win, not with grand gestures, but with minimum consistency. Daily, firm, determined. One day you wake up and realize that everything you once dreamed of didn't arrive by magic. It arrived because you didn't give up on the small. In the end, when the days have passed and excuses no longer hold, you will face a simple truth. You did not fail because you lacked opportunities. You failed because you did not take control of yourself every morning. Every sunrise gave you a chance to rewrite your story, to redirect your destiny, to walk differently, and you chose to postpone, to repeat, to wait. But if you are listening right now, if you have reached this point, it is because something inside you is tired of being the same. There is a silent voice within you saying, enough. When you listen to that voice with courage, it becomes guidance, strength, rebirth. You were not born to merely survive your days. You were born to build a life worth living. A life with direction, with character, with power. That is not given. It is conquered. And it is conquered when you stop negotiating with your excuses. When you commit to your best version. When every morning you wake up with one question in mind, how will I honor myself today? Because when a man honors himself, when he stops being just the result of his past and becomes the architect of his present, the world no longer drags him. He walks through it with purpose. He shapes it. He transforms it. You do not need a perfect moment. You do not need more information, more motivation, more inspiration. You need emotional discipline, inner commitment, a simple morning ritual, and a brutally honest decision. Today I take responsibility for myself. You are capable of building the life you want, recovering your confidence, finding clarity, strength, success, and fulfillment, but only if every morning you act as a man who no longer betrays himself, a man who does not need anyone to push him, a man who, when he opens his eyes, declares, today I do not fail. Today I become who I came here to be. When that sentence stops being a wish and becomes your law, there is no turning back. You are no longer the same. You no longer stop because you finally understand the man who transforms his morning transforms his entire life.